want to drop the acid and go back to the land of the lost and have to fight a friggin' sleep stack. I don't want to have to do that if I'm getting high. Most thing I want to do is go to sleep. I ain't using that gym. Hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.godaddysite.com. And if you are not already a part of our book club, please remember to hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes you, can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, let's finish talking about, well, not finish, but let's continue talking about George Clinton's brother be. Like George ain't that fucking kind of hard on you. But y'all see I got my good Ron Jeremy look on today. I feel like a porn director in this outfit. You know, like the sleaziest one ever. So where we left off, we have George Clinton and the crew. They have finished Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. Pay attention to this, love bugs, okay? Because this may be on the Q&A, okay? Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow, because we learned that they were, gone off of LSD the entire time, okay? And free your mind, meaning drop the acid, and your ass will follow, is symbolic of the stomach problems that acid gives you. Oh, he said they was pooping up a storm around there. Now they are working on Maggot brain. The lead-off track, which is also the title track, was one of the first things we got down on tape. It opens with the spoken word piece. Mother Earth is pregnant for the third time, for you all have knocked her up. What did it mean to taste the maggots in the mind of the universe? Well, it meant all of it. The lack of self-knowledge outlined in Free Your Mind. The commiseration and short-sightedness in eulogy and light. It was writing that moved away from the prose and even poetry into a kind of sloganeering that made it compact, mysterious, and memorable. But the song's immortality came from Eddie Hazel's guitar solo, which occupied most of the rest of the 10-minute track. I remember recording the solo, of course. It's possible I'll never forget. Eddie and I were in the studio tripping like crazy, but also trying to focus our emotion. Now, when he's saying tripping, he mean dropping that acid, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you ninjas knew. For the Maggot Brain recording, I fed it through a kind of philosophical filter, adding a descending acoustic guitar line that put it roughly in the company of soul folk songs like For What It's Worth, and emphasizing the universal meaning in the lyrics. Don't get me wrong, I love Parliament. Funkadelic, the Parliaments, the Parliament, all of it, P-Funk, the Brides of Frankenstein or Dracula, whatever, Funkenstein, whatever. All the different, brands that were connected to the psychedelic funk, okay? What I cannot get is how you had to drop the acid to get to the place where you needed to be in order to create. Now, I know for some of us, the words that I just read made perfect sense. But for the other of us, we like, oh, wait a minute, you're doing too much. I always lean and fall and is secure in the fact that I never do too much. Okay, I might do too less, but I never do too much, because sometimes doing too much can go over a person's head. Maggot Brain also has what might be our most notable early album cover. The first Funkadelic album had a kaleidoscope portrait of the band. Free Your Mind had a woman praying, and then when you opened it up, you saw that she was naked. Maggot Brain was going places that black groups hadn't gone, into questions about whether America was still on the right path or whether the promise of the late 60s had completely evaporated. One of the first ideas we came up with was a picture of a vampire with pearl fangs and a glass of blood. See what I mean? Doing too much. When you looked closer, you could see that the blood in the glass came from squeezed out tampons. Stop it. See what I mean? You doing too much, brother. That turned out to be too extreme. Thank you to Jesus. That's what I'm saying. You doing too much. That turned out to be too extreme even for us. And so we compromised on the final image. The screaming face on the front that turned into the skull on the back. That's the version of the idea that we thought was more acceptable. So I'm going to be reading this part, I don't want y'all to get irritated by me reading, my bad. But because if I ain't never loved anybody that was a part of that psychedelic funk genre, I am totally, undeniably in love with Bootsy Collins. So I don't want to joke. I don't want to, put no innuendos there. I just want to read what's there, okay? Because I myself want to know, how in the hell did Bootsy Collins and George Clinton hooked up? Okay, Bootsy Collins is my favorite, y'all. He is my favorite of that whole, clan. One night in Cincinnati, Malia Franklin, one of the vocalists with Funkadelic, told us that we had to go see some young musicians. She said they looked like us, with the same style and the same attitude. We played that night at a club called Graveyard, kind of a hippie place, and after that, we went with her to check out the young guys. The two musicians she wanted us to see were bassist named William Collins and his brother, a guitarist named Phelps Collins. William, who people called Bootsy, and Phelps, who people called Catfish, had been in a local group called the Pacemakers, and they had done sessions with various stars, including James Brown. One night in Jacksonville, James got in a dispute with his band, the Famous Flames. They thought that monies were owed. James disagreed. Rather than negotiate, he got on the phone with his management and extended an offer to the Pacemakers. So that's how Bootsy got with James Brown. Now, when I found out that my Bootsy, played with James Brown first, I said, that is a bad motherfucker. You hear me? You have to be, like clockwork when it comes down to James Brown, because James don't play. Okay, James Brown don't play, and he don't have time to be training or fixing nobody. Okay, that ninja is like a drill sergeant in the early days, because we know later on he became a wife-beating crackhead. Okay, but we know. Didn't I say I wasn't going to do this? The Pacemakers, who quickly became his new band, the JBs, they recorded and performed with James during the Lightning in a Bottle year of 1970, which produced songs like Sex Machine, Talking Loud, and Saying Nothing, and Superbad. Not to mention, out of the most towering funk instrumentals of all time, The Grunt. But the relationship with James didn't last. He was still the same authoritarian band leader, and money was still a problem. And the Pacemakers were evolving personally. The Collins brothers left James and started a new group called The House Guests that released a pair of funk singles, one called What So Never the Dance, and the other called My Mind Set Me Free. They were moving in the same thematic circles that we were, fully aware of the counterculture and psychedelic styles. The first night we met Bootsy, I recognized that kindred spirit, though it wasn't much more than a recognition. We didn't talk that much. I acknowledged him and he acknowledged me. Then a little later, someone brought him around in Detroit and we had a more involved conversation. At right about the same time, some of the younger players in Funkadelic were leaving the band for other projects. Eddie and Billy went off to go work with the Temptations, and Tall was in and out of the result of his issues with drugs. So, okay, hold on, give me a minute. I'm like saying to myself, issues with drugs. Don't y'all all have issues with drugs? I mean, I'm lost. Maybe it's because the one drug that Tall, is getting down with, heroin, that dope, okay? George Clinton don't get down with. So, because George Clinton don't get down with the dope, that's a problem with drugs. Like, to me, that juggy, it's two different type of people. You know what I'm saying? You got one person that can get into it and their sole job is just to get juggy. Okay? Then you got those people that as long as they have it, they're functioning addicts, And I guess Tall lean towards the non-functional addict type person. All I want to do is get high and go to sleep. So we brought the Collins brothers on. By that point, the widening group of musicians around us also included Gary Shitter, okay? Gary Shitter, okay? One of y'all was like, no, Nay, you ain't pronouncing it right. It's Shitter. Y'all happy? Gary Shitter. My bad. And then one of my people was like, wait a minute, Nay, I thought Gary Shitter was the pamper wearer. Yes, he was the pamper wearer, but George Clinton say in the beginning, he wore a pamper too. So you got two pamper wearers. And then I guess, George was like, okay, let me stand down. Let me allow that to be Gary's thing, okay? I guess, because George seemed to me to always be doing what is in the best interest of the group. Okay, so, I don't want to wear the pamper no more. What I want to do is put on wild makeup and chase niggas out the club. Okay, Gary Shitter, you put the pamper on and you do you. By that point, the widening group of musicians around us also included Gary Shitter and Boogie Mans0ns from the United Soul. That is like a offspring group that he created earlier on. I had such a dark image from Funkadelic that women were scared of me more than anything. And in those rare cases when women would want to be with me, well, I was kind of scared of them. Now, let me tell you why. When he gave this example, I was like, answer yes. Okay? What he said was that one time, they were all in the room, Parliament Funkadelic, right? And this woman bust through the door and she was like, oh, I'm about to fuck me a psychedelic Funkadelic you, okay? Not you, George, but one of y'all is getting hunched today, okay? Not you, though. Right? A girl walked right into the room and announced to no one in particular, I'm going to fuck a Funkadelic. Then she looked over at me and said, but not you. Not you. Bootsy and Catfish started calling me Prez, as in the president of the No Getting Club. And I guess it was a role I relished. My favorite thing to do, frankly, was to chase people out of the club with bizarre noises and makeup. Brother, okay, that's scary to me. You mess around going to room with George Clinton, you don't know if you getting ready to hunt George Clinton, okay, or Jason. You don't know what's getting ready to happen on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre man, okay? You don't know what's getting ready to happen when you go in a room with him. So I don't blame the girl. Drugs were everywhere. They were part of the time, part of youth culture, and part of the musician's life, and we were at the intersection of all three. Now, know this, like he said before, okay, that daggone booger sugar cost a little bit too much money. I don't know, okay? If somebody come around with it, okay, then Shasta La Vista will get down, but we not about to spend our money on that bullshit. So sometimes pricey, talking about the boogity sugary, someone would bring it around, a guy from a record company or a dealer looking for a new customer. That's strange to me because a lot of people are saying that the record companies are keeping these people high. Whatever the drug of choice, everyone in the band was using acid all the time. Still, it cleaned everything up. When you were tripping, you didn't do coke or even drink. Most of us were using rather than abusers. Answer no. This is the thing that's getting me about George, okay? Like I said, George really think that because the drug that he was taking was helping him work, that it wasn't actually a drug. It was tripping. I don't want to drop the acid and go back to the land of the lost and have to fight a friggin' sleeve stack. I don't want to have to do that if I'm getting high. Most thing I want to do is go to sleep. I ain't using that juggy. After 1970, sometimes there would be a bad trip that resulted in a man down situation. Once Eddie passed me a sherm, a joint laced with angel dust. Now, according to him, he don't like that PCP. Okay, not that PCP. He said one time the band was so high off of dippers that they did the whole show. Okay, and then thank you for coming out, and then started the show that they just finished all over again. Then he said once they got into the second go round and they got to the second song, he just passed out on the floor. Ain't nobody take you to the doctor? Anyway, he opened his eyes, people hovering around. Man, you okay, man? You okay? Answer, no. Because you know after you smoke them PCPs, if you survive it, you either go crazy or all of a sudden you just living in this slow motion life. It's crazy. Every person I know that smoke dippers talk real slow. It's like you want to hit them in their back like, hurry up, motherfucker, say it. You know, you got the rest of my life to be dealing with your dipper head. Everybody had one or two episodes like that, but they weren't horror stories. That's not a horror story. That's not a horror story where you pass out on stage. He said the exception, was Tiki, okay? Tiki, who didn't know much about psychedelics or how to control intake, he would fall out high in some corner of a city where we couldn't find him. At times, he couldn't work with the band at all, and we hired Tyrone Lampkin, a trained jazz player who had a group called Gut Bucket in Connecticut. Tyrone was tremendous. He came right in and helped remake the band's sound, louder, both looser and tight. Tiki and Tyrone alternated for a few years, trading places in and out of the band. America Eats Its Young, the double album that Funkadelic released in 1972, is one of the richest stews we ever made. It has the emotional male anthem, We Hurt Too, the straight funk anthem, Loose Booty, and even That Was My Girl, another remake of an old Parliament song. Continuing a joyful process offered an unromantic look at Black life in America. As a writer, I was digging deeper into puns and wordplay. I had done it before, but on America Eats Its Young, I was doing it all over the place, compulsively. Wait, remember earlier I was telling you how doing too much sometimes got their asses in trouble? This is it, okay? Because what I didn't know was that they had some affiliation with Charles Manson. I know you like Charles Manson. What the hell is psychedelic, funkadelic George Clinton and the parliaments doing with Charles Manson? There was a group called the Process Church that had been founded by a British couple as an offshoot of Scientology, and in the late 60s, they started hanging out with the band, mainly in Boston. They would feed the kids in Boston Common, and they ran what was basically the first daycare center that I can remember, offering to watch children when mothers went to work. We ended up exerting some of their thinking in Maggot brain, liner notes, which seemed fine at the time. It was a form of self-actualization, not an uncommon or unpopular philosophy at the time. We did the same thing for America Eats Its Young, but with far different results. In the summer of 1969, a career criminal and part-time songwriter named Charles Manson led a band of followers on a killing spree in upscale residential neighborhoods in Los Angeles, murdering a number of people, including Roman Polanski's wife, Sharon Tate. The killers were under the influence of a crazy quill mythology that somehow tied together the Beatles' Helter Skelter, race war, and Satan worship. There was some thought that Manson had drawn on some of the writings of the Process Church. I thought there was a difference. he talked about something called the final church of judgment. And the group hanging around with us was the church of final judgment. But this was probably to find a distinction for a public still trying to get a handle on a killing spree. Rolling Stone gave us a hard time for the association in their review. That was something that they really had to deal with or contend with, because they're hanging out with so many people that get high that they didn't even realize that the people that they were getting high with had some kind of indirect affiliation with the people that hung out with Charles Manson. Calvin Driving, right? Calvin is the one that is shell-shocked from Vietnam. I'm not trying to make jokes, but he's the one that was standing in the corner with a suit on while the rest of the parliament is on stage acting crazy, okay? But Calvin don't do nothing. All he do is stand in the corner with a suit on and be shell-shocked, okay? Calvin also was driving. One day, Calvin is driving a car. George Clinton next to him. Now, you know, normally he say he stay woke because he don't have no time to be playing around with people getting lost and all that other stuff, right? But he dozed off. When he woke up, he seen Calvin dozed off, driving the car. After that situation where Calvin dozed off behind the wheel, they was like, answer no, we need a new person, okay? So then they got this girl named Sir. They thought Sir was a lame until Sir was like, I bet y'all think I'm square, huh? Yeah, you square, because he said that the band would kind of pick on her a little bit. And one day, Sir said, well, if you think I'm so square, come to this party with me, child. They went to a party, all right? You done shock the heck out of me, right? They said they went to a party, everybody high, everybody having a good time, okay? And this one girl decided that she wanted to stick a bottle up in her vagina. No. She didn't stick it up there. Somebody else high stuck it up there. Child, the problem was that the bottle wouldn't come down because the suction wouldn't allow it to come down. They said it was hands reaching in trying to pull out the bottle everywhere. Finally, the bottle broke. Broke, you said, Nay? Broke. The girl probably so high she don't even understand that it's broken glass in her vagina, okay? All George Clinton said was that from that point on, we didn't call Sir corny. Because she got some wild friends. That's it. Wait, moving forward. George Clinton starts talking about fan mail, okay? Fan mail is what we had to do back in the day, right? What would happen is, celebrities that we liked would give us like either a P.O. box or, a address or something so that we could send written letters to them. Now when you want to get in contact with your favorite person, you just tweet them, okay, or at them on Instagram or, Facebook them or something like that. Not that they'll respond, but it's a way of us being in contact instead of having to write letters to our favorite celebrities, right? But back then you had to write letters, okay? So now they're off the road now, okay? They're back in Toronto. George Clinton talks about the different types of fan mail he received. What he said was that he had those people that were believers that Parliament Funkadelic had something to do with those deaths related to Charles Manson. So they got that hate mail, okay? They also got a different type of hate mail that believed that they were crazy people trying to lead the young into some kind of satanic worshiping type thing, okay? Then outside of that, you had those people that understood the psychedelic mission, okay? And among those was a dude named Pedro. Now, if you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and check out uptopbeauty.godaddysite.com. I'm sure we got something there for you. Now, remember this. The same people that you meet on the way up will always be the same people that you meet on the way down. My naysayers, my patron loves. You babies, have a good one. Get up on the downstroke. Hey, everybody get up.